Good morning and welcome to Newspaper Review. It's the middle of the week here, and wherever you're watching us from, my name is Esther Kalu and I welcome you once again to the Newspaper Review of today. Yes, just last night we heard the news, if you're in Nigeria, of the conversation between the Central Bank of Nigeria and Bureau de Change in terms of forex sale in the country, and that is the major topic for us today. We are going to be joined by a guest who is going to give us more details on that as more stories have unfolded. And if you're watching still from Nigeria or you make transactions with the Naira, how has it been with the exchange so far? There's a difference right now in the Naira rates, and a lot of people are giving out their comments and reactions. And what's the effect of this change to transactions, especially in the import and export parts in the country? But before we get into all of this and much, we have our guests standing by this morning to join us on the Newspaper Review to talk about some of the matters we have seen concerning the Central Bank and Bureau de Change operators in Nigeria. Good morning and thanks for joining us. Good morning and thanks for joining us on the Newspaper Review.
Thank you very much. Good morning. It's my great pleasure joining you this morning, and I do hope we have a wonderful paper review this morning.
Yes, I hope we do have a wonderful review this morning. But I'd like to ask if you've seen the recent announcements by the Central Bank of Nigeria to stop sales, forex sales to Bureau de Change operators.
Yes, obviously I was opportune to listen to the CBN governor, Mr. Emefiele, Godwin Emefiele, I think I'm right, address the Nigerians on the state of affairs with the issues of currency, forex exchange, inflation and deflations, and the state of the financial situation between the CBN and the banks yesterday. And obviously, I do agree with some of the issues raised by the CBN governor with regards to the situation of forex sales and monitoring and control in Nigeria. I think once a loophole is discovered or lapses are being discovered in this system, there is need to ensure there is a measure put in place to put things in order. Obviously, Nigeria is the only place where I see, well, I don't know, maybe places such as in Libya or Congo or Liberia is where else you may find people selling currencies the way they sell currencies, foreign currencies, forex exchange in Nigeria. I think there is a need for a very stringent control measures in place to measure the way money is being sold in the forex market in Nigeria. The Bureau de Change is one obvious means by which to put this in check. But then, apart from the Bureau de Change, you've got these black market, non-registered or regulated individuals also who trade on foreign exchanges in Nigeria. I mean, across many of the states, in Kano, in Abuja, in Lagos, in Port Harcourt, in Enugu, in Nigeria, all over the place. But then, when you look at the way like the governor said, the Bureau de Changes are really taken for granted in some of the lapses and loopholes of the central bank controlling their art of operation by making an excessive profit out of the ordinary Nigerians or out of the hardworking business community in Nigeria. And there's need to put a very strong look into what they do. And moreover, the only area I disagree with what the governor said is by transferring the forex exchange sales to the banks.
We will go into some of the effects very soon as to, and some of the good and the bad concerning the stoppage of these sales. But let's start with, is this the first time this is not the first time. Well, this is not the first time that the forex sales have been stopped when it comes to Bureau de Change having to make transactions. But let us look at it. What is the sustainability of having banks give out forex to everyday customers? I mean, this isn't really the first time that this move has been made in Nigeria. We understand that the central bank is trying to make sure transactions are done legally with the right process and avoid people from extortion and whatever other reasons the central bank has put out there. But this isn't the first time that the forex sales has been stopped with the Bureau de Change from the central bank. What do we see coming up? What do we see? What do you anticipate even with this stop?
Well, I think, like you said, this is not the first time, and Nigeria is a country where it is difficult to maintain and sustain a very stable economic policy that guides the country within a time frame. In many other developed countries, you plan your economy in 5 to 10, 20 years economic plan stream, in either be in a medium or long time projection in terms of projecting your inflation and deflation capacity within your market and your demand and supply differences in every quarter of the year or annually. But in Nigerian's case, we just do come up with some certain ideas that are not well analyzed or well looked into before putting into function or implementation, and this whole thing backfires, and then you find everybody running head-to-skater like headless chickens, and then unfortunately they try to find who to blame. Now they're trying to blame the Bureau de Changes for misusing the opportunity of giving them the license and the right to trade on forex market. But for me, I believe that the banks cannot do much better. The banks and the forex exchanges are almost the same. The issue here is about establishing a system, a regulatory system, and a mechanism.
I bought in here, Mr. Azu. You said the bank and the Bureau de Change are almost the same. I'd like to ask why you made that particular statement. And what are the similarities, really, if they are almost the same? Because now the bank seems to be taking over from where the Bureau de Change stopped, and people need to make transactions, foreign exchange transactions every day. So if they are hearing this, if a listener is hearing this, what is to be expected from the banking sector?
Well, you obviously, everyone knows that the Bureau de Change came into licensing operational system just a couple of years ago. Previously, the forex exchanges were done by the banks, and it was as a result of the complaints that the banks were shortchanging the customers. There will be enough dollars to be sold, but then they tell you there's no dollars, and then they kind of hoard the dollars in order to make excessive profit also, and then obviously you find those who are working behind or some of the forex operators within the banks also making money individually, even without the bank knowing that these guys are making money from selling of their dollars, and then returns the dollars back, and then try to do businesses on behalf of the bank at the same time. So you find out that this is the same thing that is working within the Bureau de Change. You find out that the Bureau de Change could have enough dollar to sell to the public, but they hodl it, and then you find some of the staffs of the Bureau de Change going behind to sell the dollars with the black market guys, and then making excessive money. And then when they have enough money for themselves individually, then they go back with the same money to the Bureau de Change office to sell to the public. So it's the same mechanism. Is this systemic corruption? One of the worst corruption system you have in Nigeria are within the financial institutions. But because they hide behind the veil of private sector, they continue to do certain things that is hindering the economy to grow, to stabilize, and to be functional for the benefit of the common people and the ordinary person in Nigeria, or the ordinary businessman. So the same thing will happen to the banks. The banks are not holy whales. They are not saints. The banks are one of the most of the banks are one of the worst corrupt people you have in the country. They help to launder money for the governors. They help to launder money for politicians.
Mr.
They help to launder
Mr.
some
Azu,
certain.
Mr. Azu, yeah, I'd like us to also connect this conversation because you mentioned the common people. We've heard some of the issues that you have raised here, but I'd like to connect this conversation with the effects of this sales and foreign exchange generally to the common man. Now we have seen surveys that has to do with inflation, especially food inflation here. Is this going to affect the common man in terms of buying and selling and their cost of living as it is right now? Do you see that affecting us in any way, especially Nigerians?
Yeah, obviously, it's going to affect the common man, the ordinary man on the streets of Nigeria. May find it difficult to afford even 1 square meal a day with this whole situation. Because what is going to happen is that the banks are going to be very stringent in the way they sell their dollars, and at the same time still want to do business out of whatever exchange rate that is affixed. And then at the moment, the price of foods and essential commodities in Nigeria is rising, and Nigeria is one country where everything goes up and never comes down, and that is an unimaginable situation in that country in view of price fluctuations and price mechanisms in the ordinary market. Things goes up and never they find it difficult to actually bring things down to the ordinary point where ordinary citizens of the country can afford even a cup of gari or a tuber of yam or even a 500 ml palm oil. You can imagine a country where you produce palm oil and your people cannot afford palm oil to cook, and the prices are skyrocketing every day. And you imagine where you produce goat and chicken, and yet your ordinary citizens cannot afford a chicken and a goat. It's absolutely ridiculous. And so that is the situation. The transferring the forex exchange to the bank without a thorough measure, a strong economic mechanism that will ensure that the banks work within the regulatory system monitored by the central bank, just like the central bank governor said. If you go to this bank to buy forex and the bank refused to sell to you, or they try to shortchange you, he gave out some a mobile number and an email address for the ordinary person on the street in Lagos, in Ibadan, in Ogun, in Oyo, in Kano or whatever, to contact the central bank and lay a serious complaint about what the banks are doing. I hope that mechanism will be one of the stringent measures that will enable the central bank to have a very strong, close look on how the banks are going to operate. But the unfortunate thing is that when you shut down the bureau de changes, that is, you're creating another unanticipated unemployment condition in Nigeria, because if you have 500 registered or so bureau de changes in Nigeria, and now suddenly they woke up one morning and found out that they cannot transact, they cannot do business, they cannot operate any longer. If take the statistics, each bureau de change employs 5 or 10 persons. That means 500 times 10. I'm just making an assumption or an estimated figure. And you're talking about millions or hundreds of thousands of people that are going to be laid off in many places in Nigeria from their income earning operations or businesses or work.
Okay.
Is the central bank going to absorb these people into the banks? Is the central bank going to give them an optional escape outlet to find jobs, get something else to do? Or what are they trying to do? Because this is, it's like what the governor of Kaduna State did one time, sacking teachers without providing alternative jobs. You don't sack people. You don't put people under redundancies if you don't create an alternative employment or outlet or escape route or opportunities for these people. And then you don't try to control the financial system, and at the same time bringing upon it a huge number of poverty labeled conditions because it doesn't help. The ordinary person goes back poorer because most of the people who do this bureau de change, apart from the original owners, most of their staffs are ordinary people on the streets of Lagos, Kano, or Onitsha, or Port. That if the company shuts down, they go back as street vendors, or they go back as street hawkers. They go back as job seekers. And if they can't find anything reasonable to do to keep them within the state of income and economic measures, criminality becomes the best offer or the best alternative way to survive.
So that we don't lose this point, because you just touched a very delicate point, which has to do with what happens to the operators that are no longer have business to do right now and unemployment. But let's connect it to investment and education abroad. The effects of this exchange to those that are coming to invest in Nigeria and those that are studying abroad, or those that pay bills, pay school fees abroad, because we have something on the educational aspect here from ASU, which I'll bring up later when we are done with this conversation. So we've seen one of the effects as unemployment. Let's look at what it has to do with investment and those that study abroad, those that Nigerians that study abroad.
Obviously, you look at the statistics, you realize that Nigeria is one of, especially here in the UK, Nigeria is third in line, I think third or fourth in line to the highest number of countries that have educational tourism, academic tourism in the UK and across Europe. When you look at the statistic, I think India, China, I think it's Bangladesh or Pakistan. Then you have Nigeria as one of the 5 highest educational tourists you have in the UK and across Europe. And at the same time, Nigeria also is on the top 5 of medical tourism in the UK and across Europe. And I can't imagine a country where we are seeking for direct foreign investment into the country, and we are begging our diasporans to also be part of the diasporan direct investment streamlines into Nigeria. Obviously, the diasporans commit over $20 billion into Nigeria every year. And you have a country that is not manufacturing properly. You have a country that is not regarded as an industrial hub in Africa. You have a country that is not an agro business oriented country in Africa at the moment, and yet we wonder where they get the money they get to send their children to come and study in the UK and across Europe and in America. I got a phone call yesterday from a friend in Nigeria who is trying to find out what it would take to send a young girl to come and do her master's here in the UK. And I said to him, basically, if you want to come and do your master's here in the UK at the moment for 1 year program, you should be having at least in your coffer or your savings close to about £50,000 in your savings, which amounts to your school fees, your upkeep, and your accommodation and other exigent expenses you have to do. So you could imagine what that would do if the forex exchange in Nigeria is not properly regulated, is not well managed, is not skillfully and professionally monitored to ensure that the currency valuation is not continuously devalued and continue to fall every day. At the moment, Naira is about 705 or 708 Naira to a pound. And it keep going like that and that. And you imagine how do you continue to sustain the kind of educational tourism that is becoming one of the high export orientation of Nigeria. Instead of Nigeria to be exporting produce, exporting cassava flowers, exporting shea butter, exporting cocoa at the competitive quantity in the international market, instead of exporting vegetables, instead of exporting fruits, instead of exporting worldly competitive produce commodities across the globe, where the market is absolutely opening up with the opportunities provided, the sudden natural, or will I say scientific, crisis provided by COVID. We are only doing what we can do by exporting our fellow Nigerians. And then we talk about when the British High Commissioner in Nigeria was talking about giving access to many Nigerians who are highly educated in Nigeria that needs to come to the UK to complete their educations. They're giving them a kind of an entry opportunity to come and do their master's or PhD, and then an entry opportunity to stay behind after their studies for a 2 years working career and to build up their stay in the country. What does that mean? Now, they found out that the only thing Nigeria can export that is good with doing is exporting their brains.
Yes,
and that is what.
Yeah, Mr. Azu, talking about educational tourism. But look at what we have on the news now with ASU. I mean, just today, we have fresh varsity strike looms. Federal government ASU resume fight on payments platform. So if we're having this fight in Nigeria, don't you think with the educational system in our tertiary institutions, don't you think this is going to encourage more educational tourism?
Well, obviously, you have over 100, is it 190 something or 100? I can't remember the absolute figure. Universities in Nigeria, and hundreds of them of polytechnics and College of Educations, and Nigeria is chunking out close to 1 million or so graduates every year. Some of them are fully well educated, well studied. And majority of them are half-baked because you could imagine when you go to a university like in the north, or University of Katsina or something like that, where you have only 2 PhD holders as one of the key lecturers or whatever in the university, and then some university you go, the only PhD holder is what do you call them, the chancellor, the pro chancellor or the vice chancellor of the university. How do you expect to produce worthy academic students from such universities? But unfortunately, the good thing is that we have the premier universities, the colonially built universities with the mentality of educational quality and standard, such as University of Ibadan, University of Benin, University of Lagos, Ahmadu Bello University, Nnamdi Azikiwe University, Nsukka University. These universities are working hard to sustain their standard within the African university ranking, and once they chunk out one of the first class students, these first class students are some of them are the ones that end up in this transit or educational tourism, and the rest are just those who their parents can afford the money. ASU goes to strike does not help the educational system for Nigeria as a whole. Nigerian system is run by half-baked students. The best ones are being sent away by their well-to-do families to go and study in Saudi Arabia, go and study in Abu Dhabi, go and study.
Mr. Azu, I have to correct the statement of half-baked students. Really, the Nigerian system be run by half-baked students, because we still have a lot of students here in Nigeria that are doing well and they are giving very good results. We have some graduates that are doing well and giving very good results, especially in their industry. So I'd like to bring that statement back to you. Half-baked students.
My dear friend, you can examine what I mean by half-baked. I mean, yesterday they chunked out how many qualified lawyers? About 1,000 plus sat for the MBA or the Nigerian bar exam, and obviously about 300 or so. How many? About 600 or so.
800 and about 800.
Pass the exams. We are 600 plus. Couldn't pass the exam. I have an office in Abuja. My manager that manages my office in Abuja is one of those students that one of the 881 that actually got called to bar yesterday, and I was very proud of him. But then you look at almost 1/4 or half of the students that sat for that bar exam were not able to pass. So how did they pass out of the university? How did they come out of university that brought them to various law schools in Nigeria? It's a questionable thing. It's something they need to ask. They don't just say you didn't pass the exam and then they chuck you away. No, there should be a trace back to the university that produced them. How did they come out? Some of them could have come out of the university with first class. Some of them could have come out of the university with second class, upper, or second class lower. How did they come out of that university with such degrees and they couldn't pass an ordinary bar exam? It's unimaginable. It's a disgrace. It's a disappointment to the Nigerian law institutions in Nigeria. And so also it happens. This is just one of the openings. If you go to if they put out the statistics of the Nigerian medical doctors that passed the final exams in Nigeria, you'll be shocked by the number who are not able to pass. And then obviously, if a medical doctor is coming to practice in the UK here, he has to go through certain qualification process. I know as at this moment, there are so many of them that are not able to pass those exams. They end up working as social care workers. They end up working as security men. They end up working as mental health carers in many care homes in the UK. So many of them, thousands of them here, that couldn't pass medical college or medical qualifications in the UK, are doing so many other things in order to keep themselves relatively into the medical field or medical circle. So it's not about chunking out students in Nigeria. It's about chunking the best kind of students, and these best kind of students, few of them are ending up in the US, ending up here, ending up in Saudi Arabia, ending up in Qatar, ending up in Abu Dhabi, because their brain has taken them to as far as they can go, and those who could not, their parents are spending money to take them there. So the fact is that how can Nigeria keep their best brains? Because as I keep saying, most people that are running the country today are people that are half-baked from the universities. And the CPN governor said something yesterday. If you are an agromanic or agro whatever he call it, agro business advisor,
yes, Mr.
able to sponsor you to remain agri qualification or career and become a good farmer. If you are a pharmacist, why can you be a pharmacist and go and be selling chemists and go and be dispensing drugs in shops? As a pharmacist.
Thank you very much for your thoughts, Mr. Azu. Thank you very much for your thoughts. This is going to take us to another conversation if we continue, but because of our time, we'll have to pick it up from this point some other time. Thanks for having us. Thanks for joining us on the newspaper review this morning, Mr. Azu.
Thank you very much. My great pleasure.
Do have a great day ahead.
Too. Have a wonderful time around.
That's as much as we can take on the newspaper review this morning. See you again. My name is Esther Kalu. Just stay safe.